Hello, welcome to the live. Is the audio on? Let me just check. Yeah, it's coming through. Right, yeah, welcome to the live. So, today's another one about overthinking, because I used to be a terrible procrastinator, and I used to believe that thinking too much, really thinking things through, was the best way to get the best outcome. I always thought the more time you thought about, I remember I studied product design, industrial design at uni, and we was told that put more time up front into design and planning to get a better outcome. Now, yeah, that's a general theory, but when it comes to a single task, if you're overthinking, um, looping and overthinking is not in, it does not bring the best results. Overthinking is not intelligence, right? It's just stalling your energy and your action. And what actually is the truth is sometimes even if you just go with your gut instinct, you don't think too fast, you don't think too much, and you just go with your gut, um, you get more progress that way. So, speed is progress, you could say. But not reckless, right? Because we don't want to do no thinking, we don't want to have no thoughts. And this is why I always say, uh, I'll talk about my method, which is, having a vision for your life, an identity, and then aiming towards it. And everything you do is in alignment with that identity. And then, in a way, that kind of takes a lot of the thinking out of it, because, if your identity involves whatever that might be, like your career or your business, then as long as the decisions that you take on a day-to-day basis are in alignment with that vision, then you don't really have to think that much about it. It's like yes or no, does this fit that identity or not? Anyway, so today we're going to talk about like turning all that overthinking, all them thoughts into motion, into action, right? And one of the issues is when we spiral, the more you think about something, the more you have these spiral thoughts. And I know, like, if you're hit with some like big problem or some anxiety, it's difficult to get out of that, and sometimes you have to spiral it just to process it. But what it actually does is the more you think about something, the more you deliberate on a decision, it brings uncertainty. You end up thinking about more and more different ways to sort of solve a problem. And there's such a thing that, a lot of decision making psychology and people that talk about taking action, you might have heard of the 3-second rule. When you see something, let's say you're in a room. I went to a business event the other night, and it was all about making connections, right? And I made a ton of connections. And you walk into this room, and if you see someone you want to talk to, if you take longer than 3 seconds, then you'll start overthinking, and you'll probably hesitate and not go and speak to them. Whereas what you should do is, the 3-second rule is boom, gone, right? And then it takes the thinking away. So, yeah, um, that's what I think. So let's have a look at a few tools, right? Obviously, I've got my method using the journal, which is based on everything on my channel. It's based on creating the identity for yourself, who you want to be, then setting some goals or some projects, like goals, things that I want to achieve that are in alignment with that identity, and then day to day, choosing 3 things a day that you're going to work towards and you're going to take action. And it's not about working yourself to the bone, it's about small, simple steps. But let's say you've not done that before, you want to, just start work, and you're overthinking, you don't quite know what to do next. And the first thing I would say is, just by taking any action, action builds more. Motivation's bullshit, it's not a thing, right? Motivation actually comes from taking action. So just forcing yourself to take that first step will often, you know, start kick-starting the whole thing, and you'll start doing more and more. Have you ever, when you go to the gym, if you don't want to go to the gym, the hardest part of going to the gym is actually going once you're in there and you've warmed up for 5 minutes, you don't regret it. You're then on with it and you train for the full hour. But the hardest bit is just getting your ass out the house and getting to the damn gym. That's harder than actually training. Once you're there, it's easy. So, and it's like that with everything, So, whether you're going to go out on, like I go out on a mountain bike, and if it's a little bit raining, you don't want to go out, but sometimes you just get out, and once you're out for 5 minutes, who cares if you're getting a bit wet, you're all right. So let's have a look. What can we do if we're right at the flipping bottom and we don't know, and we're overthinking like mad and we don't know where to start? One thing I'd do, right, so obviously in the journal, I have this thing called the focus of the week, which is always the start of the week, right? And what it actually is, I'll show you an example now, right? This is like a brain dump, right? It's like a bit of a brain dump of all the things that I want to do this week, right? Now, if you haven't got a journal, you can get this, obviously, it's just links down below, but if you haven't got one of them, just take a piece of paper, right? Literally a notepad, right? And just brain dump some ideas, right? Down, just like, what do I want to do this week, or what do I want to do today? Well, I want to send that email, email like so, right? You're going to write all these things down, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to circle one, right? That's what I would do, because I always say do 3 things a day, right? 3 small things a day. That's all you need to do. You don't have to do like 100 things, but just write some stuff down and then just circle one, right? And what you're looking for, what is one thing that's quite small that you can do right now that will bring you closer to your goals, right? Whatever you're trying to work towards. Don't do something that sometimes you have to pick off the low-hanging fruit. If you're not used to, if you're really in, right at the bottom, you want to make it small. But what you can do is choose a small task that is actually going to move the needle, that's actually going to move you forwards. So you do want to circle something in your notebook. Just write everything down, and then just pick something that's going to help you today, right? And this is like from an absolute standing start. Now, when you circle it, the task itself, it might be too big. The second step is it might be too big. You might think, shit, that's going to take me all day. Well, how far can you break it down? Right? Can you do an hour? If you can't do an hour, can you do 20 minutes? Or can you make it a 10-minute? How can you break that down to the point where you can do something, right? And then it's a case of just doing it. I like to work in focus blocks of time, right? And this is a fantastic way of working. Rather than if you go into work and you think, fucking hell, I've got to do 8 hours, 10 hours, slaving away. I don't work like that. I'll go in and I'll choose 3 things. And then some of them might only take me 10 minutes, or they might take me an hour, whatever, or 90 minutes max. But I'll commit to say, right, I'm going to do this today, this one task, and it's going to take me about 40 minutes or whatever, or who cares, right? And I'm just going to focus, right? So switch everything off. I don't mind listening to a bit of music while I work, that's up to you, but switch everything off and just focus on that one task. Commit to doing it, just one, right? Task, and then do it. And then when it's finished, let's say 30 minutes, an hour later, you've done that task, you'll feel fantastic. Then take a deliberate, well-earned break, right? Because you want to work on your parasympathetic nervous system to lower your state at that point. So you don't want to do anything. Maybe get a coffee, clear your mind, just sit in the flipping garden or something, right? And that's all you need to do. So there's always a way of doing it. If you're overthinking, just write things down, pick one and start, right? And just apply a bit of focus, just sacrifice a little bit of time. Just tell yourself, right, I'm going to work on this 30 minutes, an hour, right? And then you're going to give yourself the rest of the day off, right? Because if you're overthinking, even if you think you're working 8 hours, you probably, most of the time, we don't really do much that's actually getting us any closer to where we need to be. So it's better to have that focus, that focus block of time. And that's what I would do, right? And if you're going to go further than that, which is what I do every day, right? So I've got my identity written down. I've got my goals sorted out. So I've got my identity here. You got the identity evolution cycle, which is a diagram, which I've got here. Hang on, just show you. There it is. Right. So at the top, you've got your identity, which is who you want to be or who you say you are. Then you got your goals, things that you're going to work on. And then daily, you're just going to pick 3 things. So what we just said then about picking that one task, you can write everything down, just circle it, pick one task. I try and do 3 things a day like that. And it actually equates to half a day's work or a little bit less, because if you're applying, let's say, up to 60 minutes for each one of those 3 things with a 15-20 minute break in between. So in the morning you plan it, set your day with intent. I'm going to choose these 3 things, right? This is more advanced after you've got over the initial just doing one task. So after you've gone from overthinking to just doing one thing a day, and then when you can, get to 2 things a day, and then eventually get to 3 things a day. So in the morning, you set your day with intent, right? You then start on your first task, right? You're going to set your day with intent. You're going to choose 3 things, and then you're going to start, right, on your first task up to an hour, and then you're going to stop, right? Because your concentration will be going by then. Don't carry on. Stop. Get a brew, whatever you like. Sit in the garden, clear your mind, 15-20 minutes, and then you're going to go again, right? And you do that 3 times, and then what these 3 things, go to any of my kind of pages, if you like. Let's have a look at a good one. So I mean, this is a really busy one, but if I go to one here, right, you've got 3 things there that I've written down, and I've ticked them all off because I've done them, and they're all, this is the focus of the week, so they all come off my goals, because the focus of the week is what I'm choosing from my goals, right? And then over 6 months, you'd be amazed at what you can achieve just by doing 3 small things a day, because every one of them is aligned to your goals. And what actually happens when you get, you think you have to work like Billy O every day, you don't. What actually happens when you're being intentful, when you're setting intent and you're choosing things that are actually going to move your life forward, what actually happens after time, this is how you build momentum, right? And motivation. Motivation comes from doing this. It's like a muscle that you have to train, and you can go from absolute anxiety-ridden overthinking, right? And because I used to be like this, I just could not make a decision and choose what to do next. And this is why I was an employee for many years. I always wanted a business, and just making the flipping decision to start the damn business was hard for me. I used to be a terrible overthinker. And just from going from that state to choosing one thing to work on, you can still do your 8 hours a day in your job. Just make sure you do one thing. And then you progress from one thing to 2 things. And then you progress from doing 2 things to 3 things. And once you're doing 3 things a day, right, in very short periods of time, each one, right, that is mixed up with all the other stuff that you do. So you might still have to do all the admin, and we've all got admin to do and little tasks here and there, that's fine. But make sure you do them 3 things. If you start doing that, that's how you build momentum, motivation. I mean, it's absolutely amazing, right? I've been doing it for years now, and you wouldn't believe what you can achieve after 6 months, 12 months. I mean, after a few years now, if I look at everything that I've wanted to do, so like, I'll give you a few examples, right? I wanted to create this new business. telling the journals. I just did it. Before that, I've got my existing business. So I had my tech business before I started doing this, but it wasn't going that well. And once I got a coach, and once I started working like this, and he told me, Andy, what are the top 3 things that you want to get done today? Just make sure you do them. Once I started working like that, the results started getting better. Life started getting easier. I went from working 60, 80 hours a week to like 15, 20 hours a week for getting more results, because I was working with more intent, more focus. It all started to happen. So my existing business got better. I created a new business. I got lost something like 4 stone in weight, which is about 25 kilos. Just literally just got my health in order, upgraded my diet, anything, like even little things like buying cars and stuff like this. That all come from the work. And then just like I wanted to get better at reading, I wanted to start jiu-jitsu. All of these things have been attained from that method. It's pretty simple, and you can, again, it starts with having an identity. What do you want to do? Who do you see yourself as? What do you want to be? Right? And then just creating like the goals. They're like objectives, key results. So the projects that you create, because I was using Tony Robbins' RPM system. It's very good, by the way, but it's massive, right? It's too much for me, and I've just simplified it down. So you've got this life harmony model, right? 7 areas of life. There's a description there. You can go on the website and look. And what you do is you just mark yourself off from where you think you are, from 0 to 100%. And then you see where you got something low. You might say, well, okay, I want to improve that. What you want to do is grow this shape, right? You want to improve it. You want to become 80% in all areas. So you create little projects. And what do they look like? Well, using SMART goals, there's an example. It's like objectives with key results. So you create a goal at the top. This one is make 50k in sales in 6 months. That's very smart, isn't it? Right? It's very specific because it's 50k, right? And let's have a look at what SMART means. SMART means specific. Make your goals specific and narrow enough for effective planning. So 50k, right? Very specific. Measurable. Well, you can measure, can't you, when you achieve 50k? Achievable. Can you achieve it? Are you at the point where you can? 50k depends on where you are. You need to put this in terms of what you think you can achieve. But 50k in 6 months is doable. And then you got relevant. Is it relevant to you? Well, yeah, you want the money because it's in your business. And the other one is time bound. Well, it's in 6 months. And then all you do is create a little list underneath, right? Oh, there, of all the steps. So in this case, let's have a look at this one. Make 50k in 6 months, right? And this is, I said writing the list of things down and just circling one. This relates to this, because what the journal is a more structured way of doing that. So the goal, make 50k in 6 months in your business. Step 1, you've got, right, these are the steps. Create a compelling offer. So you need to create like a pitch, what are you offering? What is the product or service? The next one is you need to create like a website that's SEO optimized, right? You're going to be selling this online, no doubt, hopefully, unless you need to, because it's scale. You need to make sure it's search engine optimized, everything like that. So you've got to set up this website that's good, right? The next one, might have to send like an email campaign, right? And you might need to book appointments. So here I've got like example, book appointments with 30 prospects, and then you're going to close 5 of them at 10k each, and 5 times 10 equals 50k. Right, notice I've only circled 3 of them there in the example. This is like what I said about picking one that's going to make, right, the first one that's circled is creating a compelling offer, right? Because really, these are the must-do items. These are the things that are actually going to work. creating the offer, booking the appointments and closing the prospects are the only 3 things out of that list that are actually going to make the 50k. The rest of it is just in support. And then every day when you come to your, when you come to start your journal, you just go to your focus of the week and you're just going to pick off like a few things out of that list. What am I going to work on this week? Well, you might have to create the offer, right? You might be at the very bottom. You've got, right, okay, I need to solidify this pitch. So you might, week 1, you're going to create the offer. What does that entail? Well, I create some photographs of my product, something like this. I have to write a product description and, come up with its features, everything else. And you just write them down as a list here, right, on that week. And then day 1, which is here, you're going to say, today, right, I'm going to do the product photography, right? This is like one example out of the 3 things you're going to choose. Let's say you're just going to do one. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to do the product photography, right? And then just do it, right? Apply that focus time, do that product photography. And I'll tell you what, if you just did that and take that off, just by taking that one step and creating my offer, first thing you need to do, stick the product on a table or whatever, tidy it up, get my camera out or get a professional photographer, create the photography. That's just an example, but can you see that just the minute you start that, you build motivation and momentum. It's like 1 hour. And then that will lead to the next hour and the next hour. And then you're off then. As soon as you start snapping away with your camera, you've already, that big business idea of making that 50k every 6 months might feel scary. But the minute you start snapping photos, you're already on that path. It's amazing, and it builds motivation and momentum, and that's how to do it, right? So sometimes the other thing is overthinking can sometimes be an excuse for needing the perfect plan. This is something else you've got to watch. Years ago, I came across, you research this, I came across the, Eric Ries is called, he came up with the, what's the method called? It's like lean thinking, but minimum viable product was Eric Ries, right? Came out of Silicon Valley sort of tech space. And when I was starting the tech business like 12 years ago now, this is where I started to read about Eric Ries and his MVP, minimum viable product. Sometimes the problem with needing perfection before you start, this is overthinking, right? It's procrastination. Sometimes you're better to start, because what actually happens is, if you've got a vision or a goal, let's say this is in your identity, I'm going to be this business owner or whatever, right? And you've got your idea. You're going to end up pivoting along the line. This is just the natural course of business. So sometimes if you're like designing, planning, thinking about the perfect plan, and sometimes taking action is better, because you'll see more. It's like science, right? Every scientific theory is proven through testing and inquiry. So you've got to break a few eggs, you've got to test a few things, and this is the issue. Don't wait for the perfect plan. It's better to start. I'm not 100% on minimum viable products. I would not put out a shit offer online that's just terrible. It's not polished. The photos are crap. You need quality, but you have to test it, right? So choosing a lean approach, it's like agile. It's like, what is agile methodology? Feature release. It's like, I'm just going to do this one thing and get some early feedback. Then I'm going to do this other thing and get some early feedback, right? And you have to practice this. So it might be, let's say you're going to create a product. Like when I did my software business, I created what you call a beta version, right? An early version. It didn't have everything in, all the bells and whistles. It was just a start, right? It was basically just a 3D model viewer, right? We could view 3D models and click and inquire and do a little bit of markup and stuff like that, comment on them. That's what it was, but it didn't have all the workflow, all the complication we got in there today. No. We created a beta version, which still took some work. But the first thing I did, even before creating a beta version, created what's called a wireframe, which is like, it's almost like you could do it in PowerPoint. It's like a clickable PowerPoint where you can just simulate what happens if you click this button. Next screen, next screen. And if you create those wireframes, which are like, a wireframe is like a sketch version of your product. It's a bit like if you're creating a physical product. Let's say you're designing, this is the AirPod Pro, you know, I don't want to do that, it's going to start messing around with the thing. Apple AirPod Pro. If you were designing this, when I was a product designer, we used to make models out of like wood, like gelatin, which has a tight grain, and then we'd sort of sand them down and shape them, or even like out of foam, you know, we get like foam and make models, right? But usually we'd make, if you wanted something polished, you make it out of like a wood, like gelatin, and then sand it, and then put cellulose on, which puts like a plastic film around it. And you could spray it and it actually looked like plastic, and then you could present it to someone and they could pick it up and mess with it, right? So you're creating a model. That's what a wireframe is in the tech world. A wireframe is like a digital model to simulate the user journey. And this is what you want to do, rather than needing the perfect plan. You do not want to design something start to finish. In the old school world, they called it waterfall. So waterfall planning is designing absolutely everything like to perfection before you start building anything. And this would be testing every theory, making sure all the safeties are absolutely spending forever, and then you build it. You've got all the design fully nailed, and then you build it. Agile is different. It's like, we've got this idea and we're going to have a go at version 0.1 whatever, right? We're going to go for it, and then we're going to get some feedback. That might be you create a wireframe or a physical model, get some feedback. How do people think about it? And then you go again, and then eventually you end up with a beta version of what you want, right? And then you go again. You know, you get your beta version, you should get small 2 or 3 early adopter clients who are going to test it for you, give you feedback, and then you go again. Right, I've gone down some rabbit holes there because we did start talking about overthinking. And if you ever get to this stage where you're doing beta testing or whatever in your ideas, then you're way beyond overthinking. The point to remember is it's about writing everything down that you need to do that are in alignment with your, think about your identity, write it all down, and then just pick something and then start. You've got to break it down and start. And what I'm trying to get at is, once you take that first step, once you start, that's how you build momentum, that's how you build motivation, and then you can get going. And I'll tell you what, if you do that, if you've got an idea you want to do, just by taking that little action, you'll change your life. You'll then, it's like now, every single project I want to do, I just apply the same methodology. And you get to a point where it's just a way of life. It's just like, I know I'm talking like it's dead easy, and just start a business and stuff, but that's because I've trained it. It's like a muscle. And if you just do that, it starts with taking that first step. If you just do it, it's amazing. You know, you won't look back. So yeah, just to recap, brain dump. Think about what you want to achieve. What is it you want from this life? This is like almost designing your vision or your identity. Just have a brain dump. Write it down. Pick something that's going to move you closer. right? That's because what we're doing is we are the sum of our habits, right? You can tell yourself whatever you want about your identity, but your habits confirm who you are. It's what you do on a daily basis. So this is why it's important to think about what you want. Do a brain dump. Pick something that is in alignment with that and then start working towards it in a focused block of time, right? Just focus, just sacrifice a little bit of time to do that one task and then give yourself a well-earned break, and then you just repeat, right? Don't try and do too much in a day. Like I say, start by doing one thing, eventually progress to doing 3 things, and that's literally all you need to do, right? Remember listening to Tony Robbins, I've cut my finger. Remember listening to Tony Robbins saying, we overestimate what we can do in a week, but we underestimate what we can do in a year. This is where, if you have a to-do list and there's 20 things you're trying to get through, it's not doable, it's not sustainable, and a to-do list becomes a not to-do list, right? Because you never do it, you just carry it over and carry it over. That is not a way to work. You just drown yourself in too much, and you start procrastinating. It'll actually make your overthinking worse. What you're better off to do from your list is just pick one thing and just say, I'm just going to do this, and it's only going to take me an hour, and that's all I'm doing. And if you keep building up from there, eventually till you get to do 3 things a day. That's all I do. I'm not saying I only work 3 hours a day. All right, it takes a morning. I do that, and then the afternoon might be administration. It might be answering phone calls, dealing with emails that I don't believe in, like responding to emails, whatever, admin, right? But I've done my 3 things that are moving me closer to my goals. Yeah. To add to this, after each project, the next one. Let me just have a look at that. Right, the next one becomes easier. Yeah, I went from content creation to tech. Wow, this is pretty good. The management mindset and motivation skills were transferable. Yes, they are. This is a really good comment. Optional, that's a good name. Right, so your comment there is a perfect example, right? So you went from content creation to tech by using those skills. This is exactly right. And the good thing is, that's where you are now. You've transferred those skills, and once you use this model, it's transferable for life, right? I use it in the journal, right? You can get one of these, post all around the world. I know I'm flogging it, but it really helps people, and it's just a structured way of doing everything we talk about, everything I talk about on my channel. This is a structured way of doing it. But what I'm going to explain is how this transfers, because that comment is perfect, right? I've got this categories of personal development. This is quite common. Everyone's got one of these. I've just got a really simple, it's a radar chart, right? We've seen this before. So the categories that you can apply this to, if you look at that model there, right? You can go on the website and download this as a PDF. This model. You've got physical, right? It's not just about work and business goals. Physical, right? This is like developing a clean diet, health strategies, effective training plans, right? I use it for my training. So in the habit tracker here, I set, I want to train either jiu-jitsu or weights every day. Most days I probably have like 1 day off. Some days I train twice, but I'm always doing that, right? And I use the same method. Mindset, I spent probably about 3 years working on mindset. And actually I've done more than that. I've spent 2 years meditating with Roberto as well, which is also mindset. Because I never want to panic. I always want to be in control of my emotions, right? So this is like mindset, master mental models. I've done really good videos on my channel about the 7 mental models for success. Just look for that one. I believe in mental models. Mental models are transferable skills, right? It's like what we're talking about. I've got one goal achievement method, which is what I'm talking about today, to get you motivated and started. That is a mental model that you can apply to all these areas, right? So you've got mental models, motivation, focus, and state management. Just taking action builds your state. Next one, spiritual, explore meditation, mindfulness, and develop spiritual identity. That's very important to me. What about relationships? You can create an abundance of meaningful connections with family, friends, and romantic partners. You could actually create a goal on relationships, and it might be that you've done some work on realizing that maybe you're practicing the same habits, like the same relationship habits, it keeps going the same way, all that kind of thing. You need to make a change, you've recognized. You can then create a goal. Like in my case, I've been very avoidant, so I want to be more open, right? Less avoidant, all that kind of stuff, right? So you just, well, what can I do? Well, don't leave people hanging. Like I'm bad at messaging. Don't do that. Be honest and open and upfront about what you want and things like this, right? So you can create a goal on relationships. You might also want to create a goal with like family. It doesn't have to be romantic. You might have to reconnect with a long lost sibling or something. Financial. I've got a goal in here. In fact, I've got a great goal on financial, because this is one of my weak points actually. I'm pretty bad at money management, to be fair. My answer to money management is earn more money, just to keep it flowing in. But it's not good. So I've got one here now got to reduce a director's loan in a company, right? And it's things like I've had to like move my pensions and things like that. So I've created a goal for it, you can do that. Right, back to the categories. What else have we got next? So hang on a minute, I've gone off that and I shouldn't have done. Right, here we go. Sorry about this. What's next? So like financial is all about leveraging your skills to increase time. Skills and time to increase earnings and wealth. Occupation, what we're talking about here. Creating your goals and your business goals. A big one here, achieve more in less time by boosting productivity and efficiency in your work, mission or study. And that's what I like. I've been obsessed with how can I get better results in less time. If I think back before I was working like this, like my main business is 12 years old. If I think back to how I used to work at the start of it, I was probably putting in 80-hour weeks, and I was giving myself 20 things to do a day, right? A list of 20. And guess what I was doing? I wasn't picking the things that would move me closer to the goal. I was picking the fucking low-hanging fruit, the easy things that are like pointless. And I never got anywhere. And I was basically just a busy fool running up and down. And you end up procrastinating and avoiding what you really need to do, which is the hard stuff. And you do all the little fucking easy... doing the easy things is still procrastination. You're just avoiding doing what you need to do. So I worked like that for years. I got so far because I was an absolute lunatic workaholic. But things really started to come together when I looked at the productivity of it. So when I had Scott as a coach, this is when I started changing and like literally looking at my identity. Who am I? Well, I'm this business owner. What does that business owner do each day? And then every day I'll be picking what are the top 3 things I need to do today. Instead of trying to do the whole 20, I was just doing the 3. And it was only when I started doing that, I become more productive. I spent fucking, like literally a quarter of the time on my work for 4 times the output, right? Or a third of the time on my work. And it was amazing how I'd seen, and I wasn't working my nuts off. It was just applying a bit of intent. Pick 3 things that are going to move me closer. And it did mean that I was sacrificing all them little things that I used to do, on that list. Picking the easy wins, like email this person, do that. I stopped doing all that. And yeah, you know, a few emails got unanswered and whatever. But the results came. The final category, lifestyle. Live life on your own terms. Right, this is a bit, live life on your own terms, travel the world and design the life that you want. Lifestyle comes as a consequence of you deciding to work like this. Once you start deciding to work like this, you free up your time, you get better results. Lifestyle's like a consequence. But the bit about living life on your own terms, that is living with intent, right? That's what it's all about. And that's why I think, you know, if you're overthinking, or any procrastination overthinking, you're not really getting the results that you want. The minute you stop doing that, start applying a bit of intent each morning. What do I need to do today? What 3 things can I tick off that are going to move me closer to my goals? Understanding that, like, you know, I talked about this recently in a lot of videos about delayed gratification. Accepting that you're not going to do everything in one day. Accepting that you might have to work at this for a while until you get the results. And if you just do that, that's how it works. Yeah, I only had to learn the mathematics and programming. Right, okay, so yeah, it was easier since I already had experience learning from scratch and the confidence to go into higher maths. Well, yeah, higher maths. This is it. So in terms of applying specific skills like that, like obviously it sounds like you've learned mathematics and coding, which is really good. Another thing that can happen with overthinking and procrastination is that, you know, you can kind of get locked and think, well, I can't do that because I don't know those skills. And you are right. Even learning a new skill, right? No matter what it is, learning a new skill, it's still the same process. It's like that, writing it down, what do I need to do? And choosing one thing and working towards it each day. Neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to learn new things, is real, right? And that too is like a muscle you can train. The more you can train that muscle, the better it will be. It's like easy. You can literally train yourself to become a learning machine, right? I mean, I know that, like, you know, a lot of people think, oh, once you get to a certain age, you can't learn new things. It's better when you're younger. The only reason why it was better when you're young, yeah, you know, neuroplasticity is better when you're a kid. Obviously, you've got a spongy brain and it just soaks up. But one of the other parts to that is because you're already used to learning new things. You've practiced, right? If you go through life and you've got the same fucking job for 10 years, right? And I know everyone does it. You get out the practice of learning new things. Sometimes it's like get back in the practice of it. So I like doing this. One thing I like to do each year is to choose a new skill. Just pick a skill. These are like, when you set your goals, like in the journal, you always want one primary goal. I always say that you should never work on more than 3 or 4 goals at once. Only one of them is a primary goal, 2 at the most, right? The others are supporting goals. So an example might be, you've got your business as a primary goal. Supporting goals might be health and fitness, maybe a bit of travel, whatever, you know, or learning the guitar, or in my case, so I set like, well, I want to learn piano, right? I've always played guitar, but I wanted to learn piano. So I just, you know, got an app, started learning piano. One of the good things about learning new skills is once you start, it's amazing for neuroplasticity. It starts to flex your brain. So, like, you know, like learning piano or playing chess or something like that. What you're doing is your brain's using it's almost like different muscles. It's different neuron connections and you're opening new pathways. and it actually exercises your brain to start doing more, right? Another one that I did is just reading, like literally just reading everything, and every day just read. That is training your brain to start opening up new pathways. Playing piano, whatever, right? Another one, jiu-jitsu, train jiu-jitsu. But you're right, I mean, coding, I sent myself on coding courses, our software. I don't actually do the coding, but you know, I can understand it. I'm more of a data modeler, like database designer, but you just look at it and start doing it a little bit. And once you start with a new skill, I always think you should add, you've got your primary goal, and just have a few other supporting goals that you're going to work on, right? And the less, you know, the less serious, but they're there, you know, and that's what you do. Yeah. Einstein had such high neuroplasticity. He kept reading and learning. Yeah, until he was older than both of us. Yeah, he did, right? That's correct. I think if you don't commit to being a lifelong learner, that's where, like, here's the thing, entropy is real. So if you commit to being a lifelong learner, you're going against entropy. If you imagine entropy is pushing down, right? This is like, if you do fuck all, you're just going to go in the opposite direction. The only way to fight and entropy, you can't stop. So if you do nothing, entropy will just make you worse. So you can't stop. Now, most people just fight enough to stop the effects of entropy being too bad. So it's still happening, but they're just slowing the rate. Now, if you just upped your focus and just, like say, choose a goal and start working on it a little bit each day, to make you fight against entropy, right? But you can't get rid of it. So the idea being is you just keep going and going and going. And if you just keep doing that, yep, neuroplasticity opens up, and this is it. And it is, like for me, reading and writing every day, read a book, write in my journal. I do creative writing as well, and I've got my businesses, and I do my training, and you know, learning piano and all these different things. It's literally just fighting against entropy. And then you become very, very productive and disciplined. So yeah, that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for your comments, by the way. I love that. Don't forget, go and check out, I'll tell you what, go on the topic of this video, it's about overthinking. Go on my videos and look for one called The 7 Mental Models for Success. Those 7 mental models, I think, they're very general, but they're all transferable into whatever career or business you want, or whatever you want from life. I think 3 of them are around communication, because we've got to communicate our ideas and negotiate and, you know, convince people. And then the other 4 are around things like, well, one's this goal achievement system, which I promote, like starts with identity, setting some goals and then choosing 3 things a day. And then we've got marketing and sales, which is very important. I've done a good one on that. Go and have a look at it. That's a good video, right? And don't forget to like the video, obviously, subscribe. And if you want to look at the journal, whatever colour, got 2 colours. I'm on this colour at the minute, and I've spilt coffee on it, but you can go on, there's a link down below. It's literally, for a small amount of money, it'll give you a framework to apply what we've been talking about in this video. But equally, you know, you can just use a notebook. I always use a notebook as well, because I write my meeting notes in here. All my meeting notes that I have, they're all date stamped, and they all tie back to one of my 3 things. And just a point on digital versus analog. Before we wrap up, this is really important. I work in tech, so most of the time, all my work is on a computer, right? And we make software, so it's all digital. Technology is fantastic, but I did a live stream the other day about how to, one of the other things is how do you, like one of the best things you can do is keep yourself smarter, become smarter, is to stop relying on technology all the time. If you think the analog digital discussion, for me, I used to use a digital journal or put it in a calendar or put it, I used to type up notes on my computer, you know, in meetings. Could not remember any of it. It does not sink in. Writing it down in physical pen to paper, it really bakes in the brain. And also in the morning when I'm journaling, setting like the 3 things that I'm doing for the day and doing my gratitude and everything, it's like a ritual. And it's good to work on your, like, you know, calming your state down, your parasympathetic nervous system before you start hitting the computer. Having that time to yourself before you hit the computer is not wasting time. It's the best investment you make. When I'm sat here in the garden every morning, this is where all the best ideas come out. They all get written down in my little notebook and in my journal, all my ideas. Pen to paper is better for retaining knowledge. That's what I would say. I used to use a digital journal. Can't remember any of it. All right, thank you for listening. Hope that was really, really useful. Oh, you visit UK in 2 weeks. Can I save the shipping cost then? Yeah, it's free. It's free delivery to UK. But if you want, just send me an email, right? I'll sort it out anyway. It'll post it. I've posted it everywhere. Posted it to Mexico, Canada, where else? Oh, like even Australia, right? From the UK, I posted to Australia, which is literally the other side of the world. So we will post everywhere. But if you just shoot me an email, I'll just order it online, and it'll just, I think you get free shipping anyway. Go to goalachievementhub.com. Cannot, if you're in the UK, you've got Amazon Prime as well, but if you're not, you're better off ordering it off the website. But yeah, if you're going to be in the UK in 2 weeks, I mean, shoot me an email, let me know where you're going to be. All right, I love your comments, by the way. Thank you very much. Right, I am going to have to go because I have a few things to do, and then I'm going out for a bit of a hike today. So thank you very much, everyone. Don't forget, like the video, subscribe, and see you all next time. Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.